Giridvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna. We're reading from Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 19, text 53. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Ladies. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O most munificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Sri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a lead up to Gaura Purnima class. And the topic that I was given was Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's compassion for everyone without discrimination. And I was wondering, what can we speak? I mean, the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita is filled with examples of Lord Chaitanya's distribution of pure love of Godhead without discrimination. And if we think about it, when Krishna appeared, he speaks on the battlefield of Bhagavad Gita, battlefield of Kurukshetra, he speaks the Bhagavad Gita, in which he says in chapter 7 verse 15, we all know this very powerful verse. Namam duskritino mudha. These four categories don't surrender unto me. Namam duskritino mudha. Duskritina, the miscreants don't surrender unto me. Mudha, those who are grossly foolish, they don't surrender unto me. Na prapadyante, they don't surrender. Naradhama. Naradhama means the lowest of mankind. That's the third category. And the fourth category is Mayaya Paritadnyana. Those whose intelligence is stolen away by the illusory energy of the Lord, Maya. These four categories don't surrender unto me. So Krishna is already I was recently listening to a class by Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said when Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is speaking officially. Prabhupada said, he is officially speaking. So he says, I bar these four categories. This is in stark contrast of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu doesn't bar anyone. And then, not only does he bar four categories, he says, in chapter 7, verse 16, he says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam. There are four categories who embrace me, who worship me. In this way, Krishna is discriminating. Four, they don't worship me, they are banished. But when Lord Chaitanya comes, he does not discriminate. And I was wondering, what can I speak? Because you have a lineup of wonderful speakers speaking on the same topic, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's compassion for everyone without discrimination. So I wanted to say something which the other speakers may not perhaps speak about. Because I think after me there is Bhut Bhavan Prabhu speaking, and then there is Mother Vishakha, and then Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, and then there is the Shaunak Rishi Prabhu who is actually speaking on Gaura Purnima. So they're all speaking on the same topic. You see, when Chaitanya Charitamrita begins, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is already very old. By material calculation, he is a very old person by then. And so he is giving the essence of the Panchatattva in the first few chapters. In the 7th chapter, he says that the Panchatattva came and they broke the storehouse. They broke the storehouse of love of Godhead, and they freely distributed the commodity, which is love of Godhead. They freely distributed after tasting it themselves. But then Kaviraj Goswami takes a pause and he says, this flood which was, this storehouse had this love of Godhead, and the flood of love of Godhead that was emanating from this storehouse, because it was broken by these 5 personalities, the Panchatattva, that flood inundated everything and everyone. And then he pauses and he says, however, there were exceptions. And he says there were 6 exceptions. Mayavadi Karmanishta Kutarkika Gan. Maybe you can go to, whoever is controlling this screen, can go to Adi Leela chapter 7, text 29 and 30. Just the verse. Mayavadi Karmanishta Kutarkika Gan. Nindaka Pachandi Jata Paduyadham. These 6 categories. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, Shaishaba Mahadakha Dvaya Palaila. It's 7th chapter, verse 29. If you go to 29, just show the text. 29 and 30 are together, yeah. Yeah. So if you go to so Mayavadi, the first category. Karmanishtha, second category. Kutarkika Gan, the third category. Nindaka, the fourth. Pashandi, the fifth. Jata Paduya Adham. And the sixth category is Paduya Adham. These six, Shai, Shava, Mahadakha. So the four that Krishna is mentioning in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 15, they are gross. But these, Kaviraj Goswami says, are Mahadakha, which means they are actually very expert, great experts. And yet, because of the subtle inner obstacles that they have, and we will talk about these inner obstacles, because of these subtle inner obstacles that they have, they are not able to embrace. Shaishava Mahadakha Daya Polilo. They run away. Shai Banya. Banya means flood. In Bengali, Banya means flood. The flood is coming, and these are, instead of being inundated, they are trying to escape the flood of Mahaprabhu's mercy. Tashabare Chuite Narilo. This flood was not able to touch, and yet there was one personality amongst the Panchatattva who was able to reach out even to them. He ran behind them and he claimed them. Who was that? Nityananda Prabhu, under the order of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya himself also. So these six categories, we would like to discuss these six with some examples and details that you might find interesting. Of course, when describing the limit of Mahaprabhu's mercy in Adi Lila, 8th chapter, verse 20, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, Hena Prem Shri Chaitanya Dila Jata Tatha. Shri Chaitanya Dila Prem Jatha Tatha. To everyone he gave prem. Jagai Madhai Parjanta Anyer Kakatha. He gave mercy to Jagai and Madhai Parjanta. Parjanta means that is a limit of his mercy. Nobody is lower than Jagai and Madhai. And yet, if we think of ourselves and our situations, we are not quite like Jagai and Madhai. Jagai and Madhai, what can we say about them? We can glorify them day and night. There was not a single house they hadn't looted, pillaged, rape, murders, everything you can think of, every crime you can think of. And yet, even the Mohammedan, the Muslim officials were fearful to approach them. Nobody would approach them. We're not quite like that, right? Not at all. And yet, we have so many challenges. We could probably relate ourselves to these six categories. These are more subtle, which affect each one of us. Mayavadi. The inner obstacle in the heart of the Mayavadis is the delusion that they are the Supreme, they are Brahman. It is the Ahankar, it is the epitome of Ahankar. While they say Aham Brahmasmi, that is the height of one's ego. That is the limit of one's ego. If you think you are the Supreme Brahman, Parabrahma. So the Mayavadis, when Caitanya Mahaprabhu visited Varanasi, also known as Kashi, at that time he was associating with Chandrasekhar Acharya, Tapan Mishra, and a nice Maharashtrian Brahmin. And this Maharashtrian Brahmin actually used to associate with Prakashanand Saraswati. Prakashanand Saraswati was the leader of the Mayavadis in Kashi. And he had 60,000 disciples who were all sannyasis. How many sannyasis in ISKCON, do you know? Anyone? It's more than that. But certainly nowhere close to 60,000. So this is one man with 60,000 disciples who were all sannyasis. And Prakashanand would preach very strongly the philosophy of Lord Shankaracharya. This Maharashtrian Brahmin was associating with Prakashanand Saraswati. And Prakashanand would sometimes say, there is a new boy in town. He's young. And apparently he carries a danda and he's a sannyasi. But he's just chanting and dancing. Don't approach him. Instead, engage your mind in Vedanta Sutra. Prakashanand would tell this Maharashtrian Brahmin. But this Brahmin, he was a close associate of Chandrasekharacharya. Who is Chandrasekharacharya? He's a close associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And so Chandrasekhar introduced him to Mahaprabhu. And when Mahaprabhu cast his glance on this Maharashtrian Brahmin, simply by looking at him and seeing Caitanya Mahaprabhu chant and dance, the Maharashtrian Brahmin was absolutely enamored. He was still continuing to go to Prakashanand Saraswati's camp, but he could not tolerate that. He could not tolerate the criticism of Prakashanand Saraswati. So he decided one day that somehow, if Mahaprabhu could be brought in front of Prakashanand and his disciples, then Prakashanand's heart will be transformed. So what happened? You all know the pastime. The Maharashtrian Brahmin, he said, I want to invite all the sannyasis and Prakashananda together in a big Pandal program. And once they all accepted the invite, unknown to them, he later on approached Mahaprabhu and he said, please, could you please come? Mahaprabhu initially said, what do I have to do in the assembly of the learned? But then he agreed, knowing the heart of this Brahmin. And when Caitanya Mahaprabhu, of course the pastime is beautiful and you have to hear from devotees like His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Keshav Swami Maharaj, who's written a book, synopsis of Chaitanya Charitamrita. They really know the pastime. I'm just speaking from their source. They are the source. So, Prakashanand Saraswati, he saw this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a young sannyasi. Mahaprabhu went, he paid his obeisances and he sat next to the place where everyone would wash their feet. Now this is not the norm. When you approach the temple, you just walk in, take your shoes off and walk in. In the olden days, washing your hands, rinsing your mouth and washing your feet was a norm. For those of us who can enter Jagannath Puri temple, you might notice that next to Simhadwar, Arunastambha is there, huge pillar. If you just go to the left and you enter inside, generally you don't enter straight into Puri temple. You go left and there are, I don't know what you call it, but there's water that is gushing out from different taps on the floor. And you go through, wash your feet, and then you enter the temple. So that is generally a place which is not even inside the temple, it's outside the temple. So Mahaprabhu sat where everyone would wash their feet. Prakashananda noted, and he approached Mahaprabhu and he extended his hand and said, "Please come, join us. I've heard that you've taken initiation from a great sadhu who belongs to our camp. His name is Keshava Bharati." So there are Bharati, Puri, Saraswati. These are all different sannyas titles. Now in Vaishnava culture we only give Swami. But in the olden times there were these different titles given depending on the degree of renunciation one has. That is what qualifies a particular title. So Bharati is considered to be one of the, in fact the current Shankaracharya of Puri is also Bharati. So Bharati is considered to be a very prominent title. So he said, "You are a disciple of a Bharati. So please come, discuss with us." Vedanta Sutra. And we don't understand, why do you chant and dance all day long? Instead, you should be engaging in the study of Vedanta and preaching of Vedanta. What did Mahaprabhu say? Anyone knows? What was Mahaprabhu's reply? Yes. Yes. Mahaprabhu said, "My Guru told me I am an absolute fool. I cannot understand Vedanta. But simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, my life will be successful." In this way, Prakashananda Saraswati heard him. And then, of course, Mahaprabhu spoke about Vedanta. And later on, he concluded by saying that Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary of the Vedanta Sutra. So Prakashananda Saraswati, who was full of ahankar, full of ego, which caused him this delusion, moha, that he is non-different from the Supreme Brahman. Mahaprabhu, simply by humility, exhibiting his humility, and by giving him the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he transformed the heart of Prakashananda Saraswati. Later on, in Bindu Madhav Mandir, how many of you have been to Bindu Madhav in Varanasi, Kashi? It's a beautiful temple, huh? The deities are just mesmerizing. In fact, even now, the temple management and the pujaris, they are from Maharashtrian Brahmins. And if you speak to him nicely, they will allow you to go all the way to the deity. Yeah, you've been? Yes. Such a sweet, I have not seen such mesmerizing deity. Mahaprabhu would come in Bindu Madhav temple and dance and chant in front of the deity. And this was after Prakashananda was transformed. He came there to see Mahaprabhu with all of his disciples. Mahaprabhu was absorbed in chanting and dancing. And at one point when he noticed Prakashananda was there, he stopped. And he said, "Oh, please accept my obeisances." And he paid his obeisances. Prakashananda, crying like a little baby, paid his obeisances to Mahaprabhu and said, "My dear Lord, you have opened our hearts." And he also started dancing, chanting and dancing along with Mahaprabhu. It's a long pastime there. But this is how the transformation was of Prakashananda Saraswati, who is, if you go back to the verse, he is the Mayavadi, the first category. Mayavadi. So Mayavadis were captured simply by humility and giving the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Next is Karmanishta. Karmanishta means one who has got Nishtha. Nishtha means who is determined. Nishtha means to be determined. Shraddha means to just have some faith. But when the faith is determined, faith, it is Nishtha. The Karmanishta means they are fully determined that by performing the correct fruitive activities, one's life will be perfect. So many examples can be given. But we can think of one particular example that came to my mind. Was a personality by the name of Subuddhi Rai. Have you heard of Subuddhi Rai? He lived in Chandpur. Subuddhi Rai was a Jamindar and he was a Karmanishta. Means he believed in Dharma Shastra and performing karma correctly. By performing karma properly, one is guaranteed good fruits, good results in this life and next life. He was dedicated to performing good activities. And he had a servant boy. When we say servant, I want to clarify that a servant is not a slave. So he treated this boy like his own family member. He fed him, he looked after him, he gave him good food, nice place to stay. And yet this boy, because he had some tendencies to usurp other people's property, he started to steal from the farm. And when Subuddhi Rai found out, he took a whip and he whipped the boy, or with a cane he hit the boy once. When I say the boy, he was already about 18, 19 years old. He wasn't a boy. Young man. And then because of that, this young man later on left. This young man joined this young man's name was Alauddin, Muslim boy. He joined the ministry of the king of Bengal somehow. From there he became a servant and then joined the ministry. And after joining the ministry, at one point he butchered the king and assumed the title of the king himself. And he assumed the title of Shah. Shah means the great king. His original name was Alauddin, but he was also known as Hussain. Alauddin Hussain Shah. And he called himself Nawab Alauddin Hussain Shah. Now, we should understand that, and there is some research being done by different devotees as well. Satyaraj Prabhu has, for example, done some research. And Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami explains that this boy was darkish in complexion. And it is a well-known fact that under the Shams dynasty, slaves were traded from Ethiopia and other parts of Africa by the Muslim emperors. And these slaves were given different territories in India. So Ethiopians, they actually ruled Bengal. As you know, Ethiopians are African, they are dark-skinned. So they were the ones who ruled. So Hussain Shah was, by birth he was born in Bengal, but he was an Ethiopian. He was a slave's son. A slave who was traded by the Mughal and the Persian emperors from Africa. Because in Islam, slavery is acceptable. So these emperors would have many slaves. So this Hussain Shah, somehow he was a servant boy in the fields of Subuddhi Rai, who is a Karmanishta. He ends up being servant of a minister and then becoming a minister of the Shah. He butchers the Shah and assumes the position of the Shah and becomes Nawab Hussain Alauddin Nawab Hussain Shah, the Shah of Bengal. And once his queen, he had many concubines, but he had 12 wives, one queen. His favorite queen was massaging his back, and she noticed there was a mark on his back. And she asked, "How did you get this mark on your back?" And this Hussain Shah, the Nawab, the emperor, the king, not emperor, but the king, he said, "Well, don't remind me. Subuddhi Rai was just like my father. Because I was son of a slave, I was rejected. But he treated me so well, so nicely. However, this tendency in me to usurp other people's property and things, meant that I committed theft. And just to teach me a lesson, he hit me just once on my back, and that has left this mark." When the wife heard that, she said, "Oh, you are a king? Some infidel, kafir, who is not a follower of our faith, how could they do this to you? You should kill him." And Hussain Shah said, "I can't kill him. I respect him like my own father. How can I kill him?" The queen said, "If you cannot kill him, then convert him to Islam. It is as good as death for a Hindu Brahmin." So Nawab Shah said, "Okay." He called Subuddhi Rai, and from the pot of water in which he would drink, with his saliva is touching the water, from that pot he just sprinkled that water. Srila Prabhupada also mentions this. He sprinkled this water on Subuddhi Rai. And immediately, in those days, even if the water touched by the lips of Mlecha was to touch the body of a Brahmana, the Brahmana would they would become outcast. In fact, there are descriptions, even in Kashi, for example, I just mentioned Kashi, that when the Buddhists would go out on the road, the philosophers or the followers of the Vedanta philosophy, the Vaishnavas, the Shankaras, they would not even let the shadow of the Buddhist touch them. They were so fearful. Same with the Jains. They would not let the shadow of the Jains touch them. There were these things, in the olden days, these things were believed and were practiced. So this Subuddhi Rai, just being sprinkled by the water that was sipped by Hussain Shah, he was considered to be an outcast, no longer a Brahmin. So Subuddhi Rai went to he's Karmanishta. So he went to all the Brahmins in the town and said, "How do I redeem myself? How do I become a Brahmin again?" So they read the Dharma Shastras. So it is said in the Manu Samhita that if you want to regain your status, you have to drink. Do you want to hear what you have to drink? Huh? Yes, you have to drink molten lead. Do you think you can survive after drinking molten lead? So the idea is in your next birth you are born as a Brahmin if you do that. So he said, "No," Subuddhi Rai said, "I can't do that." So then he approached some other more benevolent Brahmanas. They said, "Well, if you can't drink molten lead, drink boiling ghee." And then he was still not convinced. So he approached Lord Chaitanya. He said, "My dear Lord, I am Karmanishta. I follow Dharma Shastra. This is what has happened. Circumstantially, this boy Hussein, who is now the emperor, the king, he's converted me to Islam by spitting his water on me. Please help. Lord Chaitanya said, don't worry. Give up your family life. Give up everything. Go to Vrindavan and always chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And simply by doing this, you shall be reinstated as a Brahmin. So Mahaprabhu, you don't have to drink boiling ghee. Simply go to Vrindavan and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Subudhi Rai went to Mathura and he lived in Mathura. In fact, in the year 1516, when Rupa Goswami went to Mathura first time, he entered Mathura from Vishram Ghat, and if you go to Vishram Ghat and just take right, straight, keep going straight, you'll reach Dhruv Tila. In Dhruv Tila stayed Subudhi Rai. And Rupa Goswami met Subudhi Rai, and Subudhi Rai took Srila Rupa Goswami to all the 12 forests of Vrindavan. In fact, there is Katra Keshav Dev. Even now, Krishna Janmabhoomi, if you go to Mathura, there is a temple of Krishna Janmabhoomi. The original temple where it was, there is a mosque. In the year 1018, Muhammad of Ghazni, he looted that place. 1018, so more than 1,000 years ago. And then his successors, during Mahaprabhu's time, Sikandar Lodi also looted that place. And the deities were moved from there to, the original deities are gone. But there was a Pratibhu deity which was put next to the original place. The original place is where the mosque is today. That is the original place where Lord Krishna appeared. But now we have this Janmabhoomi which is slightly adjacent. You can see the mosque and both together. So even when Subudhi Rai was there, the mosque already existed. And it was this small place, Krishna Janmabhoomi, where Keshav Dev Mandir was there. That is the temple of Keshav. And it is mentioned in Bhakti Ratnakar, when Srila Jiva Goswami told, when Srinivas and Shyamananda, Srinivas and Narottam, when they reached Vrindavan, once Raghav Pandit, who lives in Puchri Kalota in Govardhan, his cave is there, Manikandali cave. You should visit. I was there just less than 2 weeks back. Raghav Pandit was visiting Vrindavan. Raghav Pandit is an associate of Lord Chaitanya. He would cook for Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. So these are all, anyway, I'm connecting many things. But Raghav Pandit was assigned by Jiva Goswami to take these two boys, Narottam and Srinivas, around Braj Mandal, I mean. So when Raghav Pandit reached Mathura, in Bhakti Ratnakar it says, Raghav Pandit said, here in this place, Keshav Dev exists. And this is the area where the great Subudhi Rai used to live. So Subudhi Rai, Karmanishta, was redeemed simply by giving the instruction to take shelter of the Dham of Krishna and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I think we have to, I'm going to be speaking not as elaborate for the other categories. Kutarkika Gand. Kutarkika means, Tarka means logic. Kutarka means not using the correct logic. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a student of Navya Nyaya. You know what is Navya Nyaya? Navya Nyaya means the Nyaya which was given by Gautama Rishi. That Nyaya philosophy is based on certain principles by which one can understand the Shastra. But Navya Nyaya extends that by adding elements of Sankhya philosophy. That's as far as I will go today for this discussion. So Navya Nyaya, Mahaprabhu was a student of Navya Nyaya, and he had a classmate who was slightly older than him. His name was Mukunda. He was also a Tarkika. Tarkika means logician. And this Mukunda, he always debated with Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya loved to debate with Mukunda. Mukunda would not concede defeat. Although externally he would say, yes, you are right, I don't want to argue with you. Later on, when Lord Chaitanya went to Gaya and took initiation from Ishwarapuri, he returned to Navadvip and he was a transformed personality. He was now the same young Krishna Chaitanya had now become a devotee of Krishna. Apparently, of course, he is Krishna himself, but apparently, to the eyes of the residents of Navadvip, he was no longer a logician. Mukunda, when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he still had some doubts. Because logician means you cannot accept the reality. We said karmanishtha. Karmanishtha, their obstacle, inner obstacle is lobh, is greed. For the Mayavadis, it is ahankar and moha. For the karmanishtha, it is lobh, greed. Greed for getting more and more enjoyment. Whereas for this kutarkika, it is mad. Mad means delusion. The English word mad comes from Sanskrit word mad, which means delusion. They are delusional because they use logic and arguments to prove what is the opposite. Once when I was in India, we went to one society which was like Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was with another brahmachari. I used to be in the ashram there in Juhu, brahmachari ashram. And we went to this, some of you might have heard this, but I'll say it anyway. We went to this Alcoholics Anonymous kind of a society. And this brahmachari, he said, I have a friend who is a scientist. I'm going to bring him with me so that they will listen to him. So the scientist fellow also came with us. And he brought a live worm, some kind of a wriggly worm. And he brought alcohol and bottled water. And he had 2 glasses, transparent glasses. All the alcoholics, they were sitting in the audience. And he had 2 glasses and he took the worm and he put it in the water. And the worm was nicely wriggling and, swimming in the water. And he said, you see, the worm is so happy. And then he took the worm and he put it in alcohol. And the worm, after a few seconds, settled down at the bottom of the glass, died. And then he asked to the alcoholics, so what is the lesson? The idea was that alcohol kills. That was the idea. He asked the alcoholics, anyone, what is the lesson? One gentleman in the front with a big pot belly, maybe he was drinking like the Irish drink. Sorry, Damodar, I'm not looking at you. So, this pot-bellied man, he raised his hand, he wriggled himself out of the chair and he said, "Yes, thank you for demonstrating this to us." We thought very excited, we are going to give Bhagavad Gitas out to all the alcoholics now. He said, "I understood that it is excellent to drink alcohol. It keeps away the worms." So kutarkika means they will use tarka in the opposite direction. This Mukunda was like that. He was always arguing. In fact, when in Srivasangan, Mahaprabhu did Mahaprakash Leela for 21 hours, all his associates were there. One person was not allowed, was Mukunda. Why? Because Mukunda was kutarkika. He agreed with Mahaprabhu when he was with Mahaprabhu. But when he was not with Mahaprabhu, he was with other people, he agreed with them as well. He said, "You are equally right." So Mahaprabhu said, "This is not acceptable." So he said, "I don't want to see Mukunda. I'll see him after millions of lives." And Srivas is Narad Muni. He was very, very compassionate. He said, "Mahaprabhu, please have some mercy on him." Mahaprabhu said, "Go and tell him I shall see him after millions of lives and report back." Srivas went and told Mukunda, who was actually outside waiting, crying, that I'm not allowed here in this assembly. When Srivas told him, he started dancing in ecstasy. He said, "Millions, only millions. In millions of lifetimes, Mahaprabhu will see me. He's given his word that he'll see me. That is sufficient for me." When Mahaprabhu heard this, Mahaprabhu called for him. Of course, I am fast forwarding the whole pastime, but he called for him. Mukunda goes inside, pays obeisances, and Mahaprabhu says, "Simply by your faith in me, you have reduced the millions to less than a second. So now you can see me. You can be with me." So, in this way, kutarkika jan. And in fact, Mahaprabhu said another thing. Mahaprabhu said, "Always chant the name of Hari and take shelter of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." So here's another interesting thing that comes to my mind. Mukunda then, from that point on, was recognized as the greatest kirtaniya. He would sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the pleasure of all the devotees, including Advaita Acharya and others. And in fact, Mukunda was one of the personalities who headed the Kirtan party at Jagannath Puri during the Rath Yatra. And he lived in Puri, always singing Kirtan for the pleasure of the devotees and the Lord, including Lord Chaitanya. So this was the transformation of Kutarkika Gana. Nindaka. Nindaka means one who blasphemes, or one who is always upset with the devotees. Always upset. You have some devotees like that who are always upsetting others. There was one devotee in Los Angeles temple, Brahmachari. He was not a Brahmachari. Externally he was a Brahmachari, but his behavior was like Brahmastra. Whoever would come in contact with him would burn. His Prabhupada disciple, they approached Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, we have no issues in the management except this one person who is so much fiery, always spitting out venom. Prabhupada is so compassionate. They asked, how do we deal with him? Prabhupada said, very good. He has a very good quality. Please ask him to go to India and stay in Varanasi, in Kashi. And they shipped him to Kashi. Kashi is this where Mayavadis are. And he was the first preacher who preached in Varanasi. And left, right and center, these Mayavadis could not stand him because he would just not budge. So Prabhupada said, we will utilize everyone's propensity in the service of Krishna. So Los Angeles temple was very happy. And in Kashi also there was some good news there. So some blasphemers, they blaspheme left, right and center. They blaspheme devotees. So two great personalities who were Jamindars, and Chaitanya Charitamrita says that their annual income, please listen to this, was 200,000 gold coins. One gold coin is 10 grams. I have coins from that era and I've weighed them. They are 10 grams each. One 10-gram gold coin in today's money is 800 pounds. So 800 pounds into 200,000, not 200,000, 2 million. 800. So the annual income of these brothers, Govardhan Majumdar and Hiranya Majumdar, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, their annual income in today's money was 1.6 billion pounds per year. Every year. I mean, that's serious money, right? How many of us would like 1.6 billion? No? You are in class today, so you have a different mind. We will discuss outside. Yeah. So, these brothers, Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar, they were having a, well, of course, Govardhan Majumdar is the father of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. We all know that. Now, Govardhan Majumdar had a tax collector in charge, whose name was, anyone knows? What was the tax collector's name? Gopal Chakravarti. This Gopal Chakravarti, he was a very bombastic person. He was, I'm the biggest tax collector. He personally would collect as much as 1 billion pounds every year. So he's a big man. He's a servant of Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar, representative. Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar, they are pious Hindus. They belong to Kayastha community. They are not Brahmins. But they have, they live in Saptagram, and they have a guru whose name is Balaram Acharya. Now please listen to this carefully. Balaram Acharya is the priest, guru of Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar. Their servant is this Gopala Chakravarti. Gopal Chakravarti respects the priest, Balaram Acharya. Balaram Acharya's good friend is Haridas Thakur. He invites Haridas Thakur once to the house of Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar. And in front of Govardhan, Hiranya Majumdar, Gopal Chakravarti and so many others, Balaram Acharya tells Haridas, please tell us, Nam Mahatmya. What is the Mahatmya, the glories of the holy names? So Haridas Thakur is glorifying the holy names. And at one point, Haridas Thakur says, what to speak of Shuddhanam? Even Namabhas, even the glimpse of or the reflection of the pure name is enough for one to attain liberation. As soon as this Gopal Chakravarti hears this, He stands up in the middle of the assembly. He says, enough. This is completely outrageous and illogical. This man, Haridas, he's born in a Muslim family. All he knows is chanting this Mahamantra. I can't accept these exaggerated glories of holy name. He is just as worthless as the holy names that he is glorifying. When the assembly heard this, Balram Acharya's head was down. Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar immediately rose and said, get out at once. We don't need you anymore. And Gopal Chakravarti, before leaving, he said, I do not lie, my masters. I am telling you the truth. This Haridas is a useless fellow, and so is his holy names. Don't trust him. And if I am not lying, well, if I am lying, if my words are untrue, let my nose fall off in 3 days' time. And what happened? He left and he contracted leprosy. And his ears and his fingers and his nose fell off. Of course, the pastime is very, very beautiful and deep. Haridas Thakur shows him compassion. He ultimately goes to Kulia. In Kulia, there is a, what is the place called? Bhanjanapat. Aparadha Bhanjanapat, correct? Yeah, Aparadha Bhanjanapat. So he goes to Aparadha Bhanjanapat where he sees Caitanya Mahaprabhu. What does Mahaprabhu do? He says, now that you have repented genuinely for your behavior, do not worry. Please chant the holy names of the Lord, and you shall be redeemed. So what did Gopal Chakravarti do? Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And his nose and his bodily limbs were restored. So Mahaprabhu gave mercy to the Nindaka. We have 2 more to go. Pashandi. Pashandi means one who is atheistic opponent. They oppose. So Nindaka has krodh. Krodh means anger. What does a Pashandi have? A Pashandi is anartha, inner obstacle, is matsarya, envy. They are opponents. So who was the opponent? There was one person by the name of Shirazuddin Chand Kazi. That was his full name. Shirazuddin Chand Kazi. This Shirazuddin Chand Kazi was actually a friend of Nilambar Chakravarti. Nilambar Chakravarti is the father of Shachi Devi. Shachi Devi is the mother of Lord Chaitanya. So this Chand Kazi was so irritated by the chanting of the holy names that, especially in Srivasangan, he went and he broke the mridanga. And when he broke the mridanga and left, the following day Mahaprabhu took an entire group of devotees chanting loudly the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and they reached the house of Chand Kazi. And Chand Kazi came out and he said, my dear nephew, to Mahaprabhu. Why he said nephew? Because Nilambar Chakravarti was like a brother to him, village brother. So he said, my dear nephew, please don't be angry with me. In fact, the day I broke the mridanga, a lion, half man, half lion, came to my dream at night, climbed my chest and said, if you stop this Sankirtan movement, I will rip your chest. And Chandkazi showed his chest and said, see, you can still see the marks of the lion's paws on my chest. So that half man, half lion was Nrsingadev. And then Chandkazi said, from now on, no one shall stop the Sankirtan movement in Navadvip. As long as you carry these banners, they will know that I have authorized you. So if you see, even now within ISKCON, when we go for Sankirtan, sometimes we have these banners. And these banners have this shape. Have you seen? Huh? Shield kind of banner. But those shapes were given by Chandkazi. That was the banner given by Chandkazi with the tilak on. So Chandkazi, from that point on, himself, he asked Mahaprabhu, how can I make sure this half man, half lion doesn't appear again? Mahaprabhu said, simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you shall never be bothered again. So, in Gaudiya Vaishnavas, from Gaudiya Vaishnava point of view, he is known as Bhakta Chandkazi after that. Because he also chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He never stopped Mahamantra. So he was a blasphemer. He was a Pashandi. And he was redeemed by Mahaprabhu. And finally, Paduya Adhama. I will only be able to give 1 minute for this one because we are close to end of the class. Paduya Adhama. One example comes to mind is that of Purushottam. Have you heard of him? Purushottam Sanjay. So in Navadvip, there were two people who were the richest, two richest people. One was known as Buddhimanta Khan. Another was Mukunda Sanjay. Mukunda Sanjay had two sons, Purushottam and Sanjay. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, Kaviraj Goswami says the 33rd and the 34th branch of Mahaprabhu's movement were these two personalities, Purushottam and Sanjay. These two were students in Mahaprabhu's school. So Mahaprabhu, when he learned philosophy, logic and grammar, he opened his own grammar school. But he was a Brahmin, he didn't have Nimai, didn't have money to open his own school. So he approached the richest man, Mukunda Sanjay. And Mukunda Sanjay, he was a worshipper of Chandi. Chandi means Durga Devi. So he had a courtyard with Chandi temple. And he gave that to Nimai to make that as his toll. Toll meaning his school. So Nimai used to teach in the Chandi Mandap of this person, Mukunda Sanjay. And Mukunda Sanjay's two sons, Purushottam and Sanjay, were the students of Mahaprabhu. Paduya Adham. Paduya Adham means these are students. Students have a lot of desires, of which one is to become something, to gain more, to be prestigious. So the inner obstacle they have is kama. And because of that, they are not able to accept Mahaprabhu's movement. But just to finish the topic, Purushottam and Sanjay, they both, after Mahaprabhu came from Gaya, after his initiation by Ishwar Puri, when he returned, he taught these two students that the sum and substance of all Shastra, sum and substance of Vyakaran, sum and substance of Nyaya, Navya Nyaya, is to establish the supremacy of Lord Krishna. And he taught them grammar, logic, all the things using Krishna Nam. And he told them to always chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in this way, we will conclude. The Mayavadi is like Prakashananda, the Karmanishta is like Subuddhi Rai, the Kutarkika Gan like Mukunda, the Nindakas like Gopal Chakravarti, the Pashandis like Chandkazi, and the Paduyadhams like Purushottam were all delivered by the mercy of Mahaprabhu and by promoting the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. This was his ammunition, Mahaprabhu's ammunition. And what do they represent? They represent the 6 anarthas: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And we are all struggling with these in our own lives. And what was Mahaprabhu's means of redeeming them? By giving them dependence on the holy names of the Lord. So even today, we can have access to Mahaprabhu's mercy if we surrender our hearts to chanting the holy names of the Lord while being conscious of the 10 offenses to the holy name. Chanting alone is not sufficient. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you could chant for millions of lifetimes and yet not develop any love if you commit aparadh, nam aparadh. So Mahaprabhu redeemed these personalities who were running away from the flood of mercy of Krishna Prem by catching them, awarding them Krishna Nam, and telling them to always avoid the Namaprad. We also have access to that mercy. So in this way, we see that Mahaprabhu showered his mercy indiscriminately over everyone. Thank you very much. It was a marathon class. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, there's a comment, yes.
When you talked about the alcoholics, that's a really interesting thing, because in my early days of spiritual life, certainly when I was in sort of counseling, there were alcoholics there, actually. Uh-huh. And one of them was the 12 steps. It was a spiritual path, actually, very good. And the first thing was that an alcoholic, when you come to accept that I am helpless with my addiction, then you are on the path, because your life will be taken over by a higher power. And that's the first step. They had to admit they are an alcoholic first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yes? Oh, there's a few questions. How are we doing on time? I don't think I can take...
I'll be quick. Thank you very much, Guru. Just wondering, in the example of Prakashananda Saraswati, this was like a massive transformation of so many disciples, but still from this very day, he is emblem of Mayavada philosophy, if anyone remembers his philosophy. So it seems to me for the long term it didn't make much impact still. That,
Mayavad philosophy has been propounded by Shankaracharya much before Lord Chaitanya. And Mayavadis are everywhere, not just in
I mean, I would like to meet somebody who knows his philosophy. Does he remember that incident, and was any impact in further descendants of Prakashana Saraswati? Seems to me didn't, because.
Well, the descendants or the disciples of Prakashananda, all of them became Vaishnava sannyasis.
Yeah.
They all became Vaishnavas. There is one book by one author, his last name is Majumdar. In the 1800s, he wrote this book in which he said, these descendants of Prakashanand then all left for Vrindavan. And they became servants in the house of Brajvasis. So I don't know what his evidence is. I have not seen any evidence. But this was the impact of Mahaprabhu's preaching to Prakashan Saraswati. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bindu Madhav temple is really nice.
Yeah, I stayed there in Bindu Madhav.
We went to Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra, then to Chardham, Himalayas, but halfway through we stopped in Varanasi. Nice place. It's higher on the Ganga. And it's nice.
It used to be down there, but the temple was ruined.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.